Divine Connections.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Divine Connections. Glad to see you. We are super excited about our special Love Week show. I am your host, Katrina Deal-McCall.
And I am your host, Sherilyn Eppinger.
Now, Sherilyn, can you please tell us who we have on the show this evening?
Well, who better to have on Valentine's Day, Love Week, than Dr. Loves himself? We are so happy to have Dr. D. Yvonne Young here with us today.
Yes.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Good to
It's
be here.
such an honor. So we are just going to ask you, just share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Okay. That's always an interesting question. I do a lot of different things. I'm an expert for several national television shows, probably the most notable being Fatal Attraction on TV One, another one being 2020 Nightline. So if you've seen any of that, I'm also a contributor to Forbes magazine and several other publications around the world. I'm an ICF Master Certified Coach, and I specialize in transforming behavior and helping people to get clarity about things that they typically don't even know to ask. And I do that across multiple platforms, ranging from previous White Houses to the current White House to NFL, NBA, and lots of public figures and high net worth individuals.
Awesome. So we are just going to dive right into the topic for today. Of course, it's going to highlight relationships, but I wanted your expertise on the secret couples need to know about thriving in their relationship during this pandemic.
Well, you use the right word, thriving, not surviving. So
Yes,
at the end of the day, the first thing that has to happen before you can be happy with someone else is to get the blind spots out of your way about yourself. Relationship is not the solution to your problem. So for the people that are listening to this going, oh, if I just had somebody, no, the heck, no, if you didn't. Truth be told, until you can stand and be productive being alone with you, how can someone else stand and be productive being alone with you, right?
Yeah.
So the key to thriving and getting that person that you're waking up with, going to bed with, or cohabitating with, or just, starting the process of getting to know. It is imperative that before you start looking for someone else to fulfill you, to validate you, first you must fulfill and validate yourself.
That's so good. I love that answer because I'm a single. So I know she was asking in the couples realm, but I think here recently, I've made it more intentional. And I said that was my word of the year, is to be more intentional about the things that I do for myself, learn myself. Who am I? What do I like? Before I try to incorporate somebody else to either find out or then try to find out for myself. So I love that.
Yeah. You can't take, you cannot find an external solution to an internal problem. What happens with a lot of people is we look at things that make us feel good in the now, but the price tag later is hell.
Yeah.
You smoke a joint now. Well, next thing you know, that joint isn't enough. So now you're smoking a blunt. Now you're smoking a whole bag of weed, and you just got pulled over by the police. You can't get a job because you can't pass a drug test. You have a drink. Feel better now, but next thing you know, that one drink doesn't suffice. So now you need two or three. And instead of it being happy hour and when you're celebrating, now it's every day when you're deliberating. All of a sudden now what was meant to bring you a bit of pleasure brings you a whole lot of pain. And that can go from drugs. And it also especially relates to sex and people.
Yes.
Start turning to people to be your anesthetic. At the end of the day, you start realizing that, well, now I'm sleeping with one people. Okay, well, two people. Oops, now I'm sleeping with three people. And all of a sudden you look up and you have not one relationship that's fulfilling, none that's ever ended. So you are never fully alone where you can become one with yourself. You'll be going from person to person. And when one doesn't soothe or appease you, you go to the next. Whole time you're doing that, you got this huge distraction, whether it's drugs, liquor, sex, or people. that keeps you from doing the work on yourself that you need to do in order to be complete.
Oh, that's good. That's real good. Now, Sherilyn, you mentioned the fact, the single aspect of it all. So we're going to have, we wanted you to answer a question about singles as well. So in this, we're in a pandemic. Most of us are at home. So the whole dating, I want to say, what would you call it, Sherilyn? Dating?
Honestly think that we just don't know how to date. And I'll be honest. And let me tell you, I've been doing a lot of soul searching. I've been single for a while. And I always say this, I want to break the cycle. I think I'm a great person, but something has to be going on with me that I feel like I'm on this cycle. So one of the things I say is, I don't think I really just know how to date. And I think a lot of singles just don't really know how to date. And also, I know you answered it before with being more internal, but what other things do you see that singles are just doing wrong?
Well, first, I want to comfort you and say it's not just singles. There are a lot of people that are married that are still very single.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's good. That's good.
So the truth of it is that the pandemic offers an opportunity for you to do some much needed work on yourself. You know, I fly a lot, so every month I'm going to the West Coast from Houston to see clients out there, and everything is shut down. You know, literally, I'm in a 5-star hotel, but I had to bring my food back to the room. Right, I couldn't even eat it at the restaurant. So last time I went, I had an opportunity to sit out on a patio and eat my food, which was a welcome relief than bringing it home in a bag. Well, I'm saying that's kind of like how relationships go. Until you can appreciate spending some quality time with yourself. And in this pandemic, you have a huge opportunity. One, to do some introspection, to take the time now, and if you're fortunate and blessed enough to be working, get a life coach. You know, if you're really screwed up in the head, you could get a therapist. A life coach would probably be a lot better. If you don't know how to do that, Google my name, Dr. D'Yvonne Young, in Forbes magazine. I just wrote an article for Forbes magazine on how to determine what's a good fit for you and selecting a clinician to work with. But this is the time to identify your blind spots, understand your personality type, your validation systems, your psychological triggers. Often people waste a lot of money buying red bottom shoes and Louis Vuitton handbags and what have you. Now you gonna get what you pay for. So if you're gonna get a good life coach, it's gonna cost you a few $1,000s, but the investment may be a few $1,000s, but the outcome is priceless, because you can now get rid of all of these things that were blocking you. This lack of comprehension, this lack of understanding. You can take a deep dive and look at, okay, how have my experiences affected me? How are my beliefs and my values shaped by other people rather than my core values? You can learn now that the brain is a muscle. It reacts to cues in the environment. But all that bottom-up processing leaves you to be either depressed, anxious, hypervigilant, always seeking another high. When you learn to be mindfully present, now instead of your brain running you, your mind can run you, because the brain and the mind are two totally different things. And as you learn to use your mind, there's an old song that says, free your mind and your blank will follow.
Right.
That's very true. You know, you have to get to a point where you are mindfully present and have some awareness, intentional awareness about what you're creating in the moment. As you perfect that, it doesn't matter whether you're single or with someone, your life is going to get better. You will attract what you are. And until you become what you seek, you're not going to find what you're looking for.
Do you think people being afraid to really dive into that part is what holds them back from seeking to do better? And also, do you think we need to hold ourselves accountable by allowing the behaviors of others when we know that they are toxic and harmful? And I say that in the light of dating, like we say the red flags. And a lot of times we just bypass the red flags. I've even made a joke and said I took the red flag and made a blanket. because in the moment, like you said, that temporary thing in the moment, you're really not even holding yourself or that person accountable for these things, or like a standard. So do you think that the fear of not wanting to dive into the issues, and also should we hold more people accountable, even ourselves, to work on these things and not just allow them?
Well, let's just say this. First, you can't blame other people for what you are gaslighting or you being gaslit. You can't blame other people because you're so horny and that person looks so good and validates you physically or psychologically or emotionally, that when your moment is up, the moment of validation is what I'm referring to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all of a sudden, you see clearly for about 5 minutes and you're mad at this other person. Well, the truth be told, had you gone into this thing being aware of yourself, had you measured twice and cut once, you probably wouldn't position yourself to be hurt and upset. The other part of this is other people reveal what's wrong with you. So when you're dating someone or you're calling whatever you're calling a situationship, a relationship, what's really going on is this person is identifying things that are wrong with you. Someone talk to you like you crazy. Well, why is that okay? Or if you are being highly defensive and overly aggressive, what issues have you yet to resolve that now when someone calls you on your what, all of a sudden now you're mad, you're upset because somebody called you on what the bull left in the barnyard? I mean, seriously. So when it's all said and done, these visceral reactions that you're having, this feeling of disconnect and anger, has much more to do with you than them.
Yes.
And if you can see, I did an interview in New York not long ago, and this lady said, well, Dr. Young, I have a question. Phone lines were lit up as usual. This lady calls in. She says, well, every man I meet falls in love with me. And I said, you are bat, what, crazy. And she said, excuse me? I said, you bet, what, crazy. She said, well, why are you saying that? That's rude. I said, no, I'm not being rude. I'm just calling a spade a spade. I said, first of all, who in the hell can fall in love with you? And everybody falls in love with you.
Everybody.
So my question is, what is your definition for the word love? That's number one.
Yes.
And number two, love isn't something you fall in and out of. Love is a decision you make on a daily basis to put something first. So as we start looking at what's being revealed about us when another relationship crashes and burns, what's being revealed about us when you go into something with your guard down and your drawers down, and now you wondering, okay, well, why am I disappointed? Well, first of all, you went into this thing looking at all this surface stuff that has and adds little, if any, value. You didn't go into this thing having an in-depth discussion about your core values and their core values. You didn't go into this thing asking questions. When something happened because you thought little mama was going to let you use her car again, a dude was going to go ahead and help you with your rent, you prostituted yourself, and then you wondering why you're getting treated like a $2 what on the corner.
All right. That's right.
At the end of the day, there comes a time where self-awareness is something that being present with someone else provides that opportunity for you to look at yourself and say, you know what, maybe I'm not what I think I am. Matter of fact, maybe I'm not over what I thought I was over.
That's good.
The other part of this is, what is this struggle or this challenge that this person presents trying to teach me? What is it trying to bring out in me? The worst thing in the world is to have two immature, dysfunctional people in what they perceive to be a functional relationship. And the truth is, dysfunctional has become the normal.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think that's I think that's something that I see so much, that, like you said, dysfunctional has become the normal, where it's just it just becomes the normal. And that is just how people feel like that they have to operate, that they have to respond, that they have to just go through with life in this truly toxic and dysfunctional manner. And I keep hearing you repeat over and over, self-awareness, and you and you and you. So the bottom line to these relationships that we're looking to have, it's how are we dealing with ourselves and portraying ourselves, or how aware are we with ourselves before we go into anything. It's truly a personal walk first before it becomes a combination with someone else.
Very true.
All right, I'm done. Thank you very much. It's been a great interview. You need me to see my tides in, because I think I'm good now. I'll update you.
You know, something you just said is when people over spiritualize everything. And I'm a person that I believe in prayer. I don't believe, I'm not too big on organized religion. I don't like seeing people get exploited for their beliefs, for their hope and their faith. But when you start thinking that, you know what, I'm just going to pray my way, God bless me with this. Your silly behind is just now. I went to a church where they were handing out gold envelopes. People would give $100. And I'm like, this pimp is in this pulpit exploiting people.
Call a thing.
Call it.
Well, that's what it is. You know, I hope I don't cost you any listeners. If don't stop listening to them, blame me, because I'm going to say it wherever I go.
That's all right.
But the truth of it is that God gave you a brain. It says, choose you this day, right? I set before you the choice of life and death. Choose life. Another thing that God says, people perish for a lack of knowledge, and all you get a good understanding. Another thing it says is, by me wisdom is decreed, right? Nobles rule, kings rule, judges judge, right? So if you are not onboarding the level of awareness and comprehension, if you're not being willing to do some introspection, says a wise man, he's the counsel of advisors bearing fruit. Instead of calling up Brother Cantaloupe and Sister Watermelon and them up at the church and having them pray for you when they got worse issues than you do.
Yes.
Perhaps it's time for you to actually put in the effort. You know, all these investments and all of these foolish things, you invest in everything but yourself.
Yeah.
And the number one thing that is going to bless you is going to be yourself. It's not going to be some late night infomercial that you saw. The person that's getting rich off the late night infomercial is the person telling you to send you your money. But at the end of the day, for you to thrive and to grow, you cannot keep blaming God, because faith without works is dead.
It's dead.
True.
Amen.
And if you don't do the work, you will not get the results.
That's it.
That's good. I wanted a little more clarification. I saw one of your posts on your Instagram where you had mentioned the post was, I think you might have found the perfect man. Here's how to know that you really have a keeper.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah, that was an article that I wrote a couple of years back. I think it was in Essence magazine, probably. Yeah, it was in Essence magazine. But there was, I was headlining at that time this thing called the Great Love Debate. And Match.com started it. And then it thrived so much it went on its own. So every city there would be, in a theater or an auditorium, half women, half men. And women started looking at this thing. Well, how do I know when I have the right man? Well, again, I'm going to preface this. Before you read that article and start looking for the right man, you need to make sure you're a grown woman.
Come on.
which means that you've got your stuff together,
Mm-hmm.
which means that you know your own worth and your own value,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which means that your bathroom looks the way you look in your clothes,
Come on.
which
That's good.
means that instead of trying to get rid of dead weight, you need to get some of that fat off of you, be it mental fat, emotional fat, or physical fat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And then if you've done those things, love isn't promised, life isn't fair, but there is some criteria. Um, I'll throw some things that may or may not be in that article. I suggest again, Google my name in Essence Magazine. You'll see the article. But the few things I would say is first, look at how a man treats himself.
Mhm.
Because a person can treat you, and this is not gender specific. Person cannot treat you better than they treat themselves.
Mhm.
So if you see a man that works out, that takes care of himself, that manages his affairs, that pays his bills on time, that when he has a problem, instead of running from it, he runs through it.
Mhm.
That might be a pretty good guy. Another thing to look for is how does he treat people, like waitresses, waiters, the maid at a hotel, the retail, the person waiting on them in a store. Is he kind to them? Is he humble to them? If he has children, whatever the relationship he has with his children, be it good or bad, if it's good, something to notice. If it's bad, does he take responsibility for his role in it?
Mhm. Mhm.
You know,
That's a
look at
good
the
point.
fruit. Another thing to look at is, does he have within himself what he's looking for in you?
Mhm.
You know, if he wants to borrow your car, does he have a car?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? In other words, you can't turn a jackass into a racehorse. You could take that mule to the Kentucky Derby. You can have him trained with all these thoroughbreds and 3-year-olds. Matter of fact, you could have the best jockey and the best veterinarian work with him. At the end of the day, he's still a jackass. So if you were a jackass that you've been trying to turn into a thoroughbred, maybe it's not the fact that you can't find a good man. It's the fact that you're delusional and calling something that ain't no good a man.
That's good.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
good.
And that's like that loyalty. I think that's that fake perception of that's what loyalty is, or your ride or die, or I'm gonna hold you down, where you put me through all of this for 15 years and then you leave for somebody else. Or when you finally settle, like, I guess I'll marry you. It's been 15 years. You didn't stuck around and held me down. Those things we hear so often. And I think, like we said before, we're making it the norm. Like that is just the norm.
Mhm.
Right.
And yeah, that's that self-awareness.
Yes. Well, my thing is too. I just don't want a good man. You want the right man. So it's just
Right.
the blessed thing around. And I had taken that time to do that self inventory, and I was prepared. Lord, however it takes, I need to look at me. But look, no more of that. That I want to say that representative showing up. And two,
Mm-hmm.
3 months down the line, slowly but surely, he started to come unwind. So I was like, Lord, if this is all you're gonna do, I'm fine with it, but I'm gonna work on self because yeah,
Right.
it's a lot of things out here. People are not who they are. It's just crazy that way. But I wanted to ask Dr. Young, how did you get into the whole relationship aspect of it, being an expert? What was that driving force? When did you get the call
There
to
was no driving force. I'll be honest with you. One day, that wasn't what I was trying to do. Prior to my mother's passing, I was studying to become a neurosurgeon. And then
Mm,
when mother passed, money got jacked up. I had to rethink some things. And I started really diving deep into neuropsychology.
Mm.
While pursuing that, I wrote a book called Break Up, Don't Break Down, which became a bestseller.
Mhm.
One day I was driving, I get this phone call from the Associated Press. And leaving Austin, doing a radio interview, and this guy calls. He said, I'm Derek Lang. I said, okay, how may I help you? He said, well, Dr. Young, we read your book, Break Up, Don't Break Down, and Jake and Vienna broke up. I'm like, who in the hell is Jake and who is Vienna, right?
Right.
And they said, well, the show The Bachelor.
Mm.
Oh, The Bachelor. I didn't watch that crap, but okay. So I just said, well, what's your question? He said, well, why did they break up? I said, well, it's number one, it's not real. I said, how can you have something authentic and genuine, something sincere that's produced over 2 or 3 weeks?
Mm.
Call that love.
Good.
Right?
That's good.
I said, beyond that, you got a wardrobe person, you got a gaffer, a sound guy, cameraman, a tech, 3 different camera angles, a producer, all of this. So how do you ignore all that? Or how can you actually ignore all that? You're playing to the camera. Anyway, long story short, 24 hours later, my name was in 17,000 newspapers around the world.
Wow.
And the Associated Press labeled the book The Relationship Manual.
Mm.
And, you know, the moniker relationship expert just kind of got stuck on. Truth is, I'm an expert in human behavior.
Mm.
And at the core of human behavior, the outproduct is relationships.
Yes. Yes.
So never, like with most things you're successful at, is that what makes you successful? I didn't set out saying I wanted to be a relationship expert. I'm an expert on what creates good relationships.
Mhm.
And that's perfecting human behavior and having intentional instead of inadvertent and reactional behavior. To being mindful, being aware, understanding how to communicate, how the brain functions, how neurochemistry works. And a good example of this would be, if you look at my Instagram page, it's only about 6,000 people on that thing. You go to my Facebook page, I have a blue dot. I'm a public figure. 80-something thousand likes, 81,000 followers. 1 million people a month engage my content on Facebook. Okay, well, let's go to the TEDx website.
Mm-hmm.
Type my name in. I have 2.6 million views on one of my TED Talks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you notice something, the thing that matters the least had the smallest number. I don't care about Instagram. I mean, it's a great platform. Facebook, I found a little bit more interactive. LinkedIn, maybe 20-some thousand people follow me on LinkedIn. Not at one point have I made a conscious effort to try to get these people to follow me.
Yes. Yes.
You know, Facebook, we catalyzed some things, but we were doing that more for messaging, not for following.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying that to say this. When you operate in your gift and you perfect your talents will bring you before great men and your gift will make room for you, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
But if you show your behind up and you're not prepared, perfected, and polished, you just got before great men and in a room to make an ass out yourself is what you just did.
Mm.
Yeah.
So the messaging that I would give to anybody, like now, I don't even list all my credentials because one, most people be like, who does Negro think he is? And other people would be bored. And it really doesn't matter because the only reason somebody's listening to this right now is for their own selfish reason. Like, how can this help me?
Yeah.
Right. Right.
But when it's all said and done, I have the alphabet in terms of initials behind my name. I'm a nationally board certified health and wellness coach, medically held by the National Board of Medical Examiners. I'm a master credential ICF coach, which is the top of the top in coaching. I'm a certified professional diversity coach, which is the top of the top in that. And collectively, I'm the only African American male in the country with my credentials in total. Now, somebody may have one of them, but
Right.
they don't have all
All
of
of them.
them.
Right.
I've been featured in the Huffington Post and Black Enterprise and all of that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say it again. I wasn't trying to do that. That was the end result of hard work and perfecting my gift and my talents. And my message to the person that's listening right now is stop looking for love in all the wrong places and start loving yourself. Start embracing what you're created to be. Start operating in your gifts and talents. If you're doing hair, stop burning folks' ears and take you behind a beauty school and learn.
Child.
If you can cook your
my
behind
spirit.
off, go wash your damn hands while you're cooking, number one. But
Right.
go to a culinary school at somebody's college and get some accreditation, some affirmation, some credentials, and get a certificate in hotel and restaurant management. Get a degree in hospitality. If you happen to be very good at working and coding computers, go ahead and get your certifications in cybersecurity. In other words, whatever it is that you have, don't get so caught up in having it perfected. And that's everything. I mean, you look at people, a lot of people right now are in crazy relationships or behind somebody putting it on them in the bedroom. Well, that's because they had a whole lot of practice.
Right.
So don't be thinking it's chemistry. Some of that is just practice. Now, it may be chemistry. But you getting pimped a little bit. That's a lot of practice. And whatever you practice, you perfect. So if you practice communicating with people, you'll probably get pretty good at it.
Yeah.
If you practice listening instead of hearing, you'll probably get pretty good at it. If you practice being empathetic rather than egocentric, you'll probably get pretty good at it. But whatever it is that you invest in is where you're going to reap what you sow.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
I like the comment that you made. I was looking at some of the videos that you posted and, just really digging into it. But one of the things that stuck out to me when you say monitor what you feel and what you think. And like you said, with practice, the thing keeps popping in your head. And then that's how you are. Like you said, people, all men are bad, or I'm bad at relationships, or I'll never have any luck, or, can you just elaborate on that? Monitor what you think and what you feel. And then you also talked about not manifesting, I forget the word that you use, but how that all ties into how you get to the next level on the things that you want.
Well, you're talking a couple of things. One, self-fulfilling prophecies. Whatever it is you expect to get, that's what you're going to get. The other part of it is, are you being delusional? When you set smart goals, specific goals, measurable goals, actionable goals, realistic, underline that word, goals, time-sensitive goals, and the acceptance and commitment therapeutical approach, instead of it, the M gets switched from measurable to motivation.
Okay.
What is your motivation? Are you really there? And what I do with some people who are plagued by delusion or just getting the same outcome all the time, and they want to blame everybody but themselves, I have them take 24 hours and just get a little tablet and write down every hour what you thought about the most. What did you think about? Then the next thing I suggest that you do is, how workable was what you thought about? Did it move you away from what you want or toward what you want? Right? After you do that for a day, or if you got the maturity to do it a couple of days, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, dang, every hour I was thinking about smoking a joint. You're going to look back every hour, I was thinking about getting my freak on. Every hour I was thinking about what I don't have. I don't have enough money. Every hour I was thinking about somebody I'm pissed off at and they dead. Well, whatever you keep investing in, that's where you're going to get your fruit.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
And if you stop and look at, okay, well, out of the 16 hours I was awake, give or take, 8 of those 16 hours I was thinking about somebody I can't stand, an ex-husband, an ex-wife, my baby mama, my baby daddy, whatever. And of that 8 hours, I'm cyber stalking them on Facebook or social media for
Had to block them, doctor. I had
4
to
or
block
5
them.
hours. Now, okay, I don't smoke no more, but I done gained 15 pounds.
Mm.
Okay. Well, I kept thinking about what I wanted to go snack on. Okay, I just ate up the chips. Let me go get something else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's no wonder your butt is 40 pounds overweight. It's no wonder you sitting up here with your cortisol levels high, which, by the way, is killing you.
Mm-hmm.
It's no wonder you are sitting here with indigestion because you keep producing all this extra acid in your stomach. It's no wonder that you're not happy.
Yeah.
So whatever it is that you're focusing on, whatever it is that you're allowing to seduce your mind, that's what you're going to wake up with.
Now you say allowing. Some
Yeah.
What do you do when the things just come? It just comes in.
Well, I'm going to say nothing
Driving
just
down
comes
the
in.
street and it just flows in.
Well, whatever you practice, that's just what keeps happening. So if you keep letting stuff, quote unquote, flow in, it's going to keep flowing in. That'd be like me sitting up here today in Houston. It's 30 degrees outside, and I don't know what year or month you're going to see this in, but if you're in the current of Valentine's Day in 2021, most of the United States is under a cold front warning.
Yes, so are we.
So if I go out there and leave my door open, I can turn my heat up all I want. I'm still going to be cold. You know what I'm saying? So whatever you open your mind up for, that's what you're going to get. Now,
Yeah.
here's a technique. And this is why I tell people, get a life coach, because most psychologists will just keep you stuck. Coaching takes the problem and you tool up to move past it, right? But here's one of the things I suggest as an easy fix for you. Instead of saying, I'm pissed, I'm mad, just change the statement. When I think about that, I feel pissed.
Okay.
When I think about that, I feel mad. Now listen to the two things. I'm mad. I'm pissed. When I allow that to go through my head, I feel mad. When I allow that to go through my thoughts, I feel pissed. Now, if you notice there, you should be noticing something.
Mm-hmm.
I just pushed this from being right here to out here. It's out here, right?
Yeah.
And if you push it out away from you, all of a sudden now you realize, okay, that doesn't have as much sting to it as I thought. Another technique is to repeat the stupid thought you keep thinking and just say it out loud, but change the voice into something funny, like a cartoonish voice or some crazy accent. And when you do that, you're going to notice, okay, well, I feel pissed. And you go, well, I feel pissed. You know, pretty soon you start realizing that this is about as animated as the voice I just used.
Yeah.
Another thing you can do is just write it on a piece of paper until you get tired of writing it. And pretty soon you're going to realize, man, I don't wrote this what's it doing for me? You know, there are lots of techniques that I could go into how to and what that is called is fusion. You're fused with this stupid thought. And what you want to learn to do is defuse from it.
So can I ask this? So how is dating for you? You are a relationship expert. So when people hear that and you meet a young lady and you say, hey, what, and they ask you what you do. So how is that for you? I
Well,
mean,
first, I would say I have way more sense since I'm a public figure to not discuss my private life in the public, number one. But I'm well occupied and I'm happy.
yes,
You
yes.
know, one thing I had to learn a long time ago, and if there's an interview I did on CBS, Great Day Houston, with a dear friend, Deborah Duncan, is the host of that show. And I was telling her when I wrote one of my books that I was in a situation where I had 3 pillows on my bed. For those of you that are slow, just think about what I'm saying for a minute. Or 2 honeys and a biscuit. I'm the biscuit, and I'm not gay. So, figure that one out. And after one of those nights like that, I just realized, like, Negro, what are you doing? You laying here, you got these 2 women in the bed with you. And for a lot of men, that would be a trophy. That would be like a fantasy until you realize that I don't care if you have 4 women in the bed with you or 3 women or whatever, or you a woman and you screwing 2 guys at once. When it's all said and done, you're still looking for an external solution to an internal problem. You're looking for validation. And see, what you don't realize is the 2 freaks you laying up there with, they probably, if you weren't there, they'd be screwing each other. You know what I'm saying? What you not missing is you don't know where they been. You don't know if they just using you because they like, that's just what they do. They like overstimulation. So it ain't really about you. It's about you live in this neighborhood, in this gated community, and you got this nice house, and you bought the weed and you bought the liquor. You bought, you took everybody out to eat. They just played you. They got some free sex and a free meal and some a free high. But when it's all, what I learned was that, if you keep trying to do this, what are you really gonna have? And there are a lot of men and women that live these lives. I see sisters that go to church all the time and they, oh Lord, Jesus this, Jesus that. And they work at the school, they love pastor. But why did their kid look like pastor and pastor married though? That's another conversation. Or another thing to look at is, oh, she all that? I tell you what, why don't you go and watch her driveway? What time? Let me see. Her kids go to bed at 9. Check out her driveway at around 10:30. See what's pulled in the driveway. And see who's leaving at about, what time she got to get up and go to work? 6. See who's leaving at about 5. See what I'm saying? In other words, everything ain't the way it looks. And one of the things that I had to learn early in life was that you either are what you represent or you're not. And I made up my mind a long time ago that I would be my brand. So if anybody follows me, I work out 5 times a week for about an hour and 15 minutes, 2 hours some days. I meditate every day. I pray probably off and on from the time I get up and go to bed. Probably about an hour every day I pray. I try to eat right. I still have this addiction to peach cobbler and cake that I'm trying to get rid of. But at the end of the day, I still try to eat right. I read constantly. I probably read a year, maybe about 70 books a year. So I learned that what I was looking for in other people, I had to have that within myself. And now I have women sending me OB-GYN pictures 24/7 that's why I could not be OB-GYN never mind. But the point is, some of the stuff that I experience, it's beautifully sweet, and some of it lets me know how far I've come.
That's good.
And I think that my advice to anyone is, whatever it is you're doing, especially if you're a public figure, don't be talking about your love life, because if 3 years go by and you just dated 3 different people, they're going to have you looking like a hoe in the media. right? And you could only have gone out with two or three people. So, but when it comes to my life, I'm well occupied. I'm very happy with me and what I have made part of my life and allow in my life. And I suggest other people do the same.
I'm just hearing that it's just the work. It is a choice and a decision, and then it has to be the work, like you said before, and like the word said, faith without works. We all desire these things, but we have to stop being lazy and just thinking it's going to come. And again, I'll use myself. My family joke on me, I'm 27 dresses. I'm literally like the bridesmaid of bridesmaids,
Wow.
But for me, I'm just like, I just cannot get past 6 months. And I'm sitting here thinking about all the things that she said. I use that conversation. I'll say, I never had a relationship longer than 6 months, or I always get the short end of the stick, or I'm just a fixer. People get married after me. All of this conversation that I
So you just didn't
rehearsed to
fulfill your
myself.
life that with all this stuff you didn't declare it over your
I've
life.
been doing it for years, doctor. And I'm telling you, within this last year from a situation I had, I'm like, okay, I'm getting off this merry-go-round. I'm breaking this cycle, and I'm being intentional with myself because I am awesome. I'm gonna be honest, I'm awesome. But I know it's some things in there that I have to work on. And something you were saying earlier about, I said, I want to be who that person is praying for as well. So it has to be intentional self-awareness and self-work. And so boils down to it. We have to make a choice and decision, and we have to work on it.
Well, but here's another thing. If you don't know nothing about fixing a car, just because you went and bought the tools and went to AutoZone doesn't mean you're gonna fix it. So, well, it's true. So
Yeah.
it's probably time for you to invest in a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I would suggest get a pen and write down DRDIVANYOUNG.com. And if I'm not a good fit, there's somebody that may be, but always read the reviews, right?
Yeah.
And it's time for you to take a deep dive, because what's going to happen, and I'll say this with any woman, especially if you find and look at these, you're going to keep always having somebody go, hey, babe, excuse me. It's going to keep happening.
Yeah.
And when you pissed and fed up, you say, okay, here, call me, right? So you just set yourself up to do the same again with somebody new. And I've seen people change zip codes, even change genders. Well, this my wife. Well, you a woman. How in the hell is that girl, please? Or some dude, well, I got me a new man and kissing, two mustaches kissing and whatever. Okay, you do you, but here's what I'm gonna say about it. You can change zip code, you can change gender, but until you change you and how you
Mm-hmm.
showing up, you're gonna keep getting the same thing.
But you know what? I honestly I'll be real transparent. I got a therapist, and I'm working, and not just because of relationship, just because in the new, I would say, dynamic in my life, new things are coming. I wanted to help better to deal with those things, and to, just like I said, get off this cycle of myself in certain different areas in my life. So I honestly have therapists.
Yeah,
And
a
so
therapist helps you with the past,
okay.
but for the present and the future, you need a coach.
Okay.
Because a therapist, by definition, deals with traumatic experience associated with your past.
Okay.
Where master level coaching, and I'm going to tell you, here's how you look. If that coach is not an ICF master coach, they can say I'm a master coach. If it doesn't say MCC, they may have coaching credentials, but it's not top of the line, right? It's not. This is like board certified doctor. You can go to a family practitioner all day, but when it's time for you to get something that really requires some serious attention, you need somebody that's board certified. I don't care if it's a trial attorney, a life coach, whatever. But that was a good first step. And I'm saying this not just for you, but for your audience. If you're seeing a therapist, that's a good first step. But that's all it is. It's the first step. If you're going to get transformational change, you need to get a coach, and a master certified coach.
That's good information. You're on mute, sis.
Yes. All right. So we are right up to that point in our broadcast where we like to leave a word of encouragement. And so, of course, Dr. Young, we are going to start with you. If you can leave a nugget for our viewers.
Keep listening to this show, number one. At least you're getting some reasonable content that is substantive.
Yeah.
Stop taking advice from people that are just as screwed up as you.
Mm.
Misery always loves company, but at the end of the day, and people will say a fool can teach you something. Yeah, how to be a fool. That's what a fool can teach you. But at the end of the day, you get what you pay for.
Mm-hmm.
Some of y'all, you invest in red bottom shoes and weaves that cost $600 to $1,000. Now you got something on your head, but you didn't put nothing in your head.
Oh, that's good.
You know what I'm saying? You wanted to make sure that you look right, but you weren't right. So you're just keeping up appearances. If you're going to be what you're created to be, if you're going to manifest your potential, you must make a willful and concerted effort to change. That is going to cost money. It's going to cost time. You may want to make, let's say you want millions, but you won't spend hundreds of thousands. You want hundreds of thousands, but you won't spend, tens of thousands. You want tens of thousands, but you won't even spend a few thousand. Need I say more? In other words, you are going to get out what you put in. And if you don't put anything in, you can't get anything out. This is the season in your life that if you're listening to this right now, and it's not an accident, especially if somebody sent this to you or you just happen to be clicking across a social media platform and you happened upon this. God does not knock on the door and say, knock, knock, who is it here? Here's a blessing. God gives you divine timing. You just happen to hear the right thing at the right time. That's what you do with it. You just happen to be in the right place at the right time, but it's what you do with it. You have the right thought at the right time, but it's what you do with it. If you don't do anything with it, don't expect anything to be done for, with, and about you.
That's
awesome.
Excellent.
That's
awesome.
excellent.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Well, we're just up into our last couple of minutes, so we're just going to leave it right there. That was just a grand nugget for
That's right. Thank you so much.
But thank you so much, Dr. Young. It was such an honor to have you on the show today. And you just keep doing what you're doing because you are really awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Pleasure speaking with you today. Take care.
All
Happy
right.
Valentine's Day.
Same to you. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
We edify, we uplift, we glorify. It's a divine connection.